today, let's just focus on what we can do these holidays to ensure that we are physically and emotionally prepared for the term and or year ahead. Hello and welcome to Blooming Curious, a podcast that's all about nurturing that natural curiosity in our early years kids and students. I'm Edwina, your host from the Ed's Lessons blog, a passionate advocate for play and inquiry, and on a mission to keep children curious and questioning. The days of talk and chalk are over. We're diving into the world of integrated, inquiry and nature-based learning and exploring the strategies that create lifelong learners. So if you're a classroom or homeschool educator or even a curious parent, then this is the place for you. Many people believe that teaching is indeed a great job because of the holidays. However, we teachers know that yes, teaching is rewarding and it does allow you to have holidays with your own children. Teaching, however, is the job that is never done. It's never a 9 to 3:30 job, and holidays are there to save us from imminent burnout. Teaching is one of those jobs that has a lot of invisible work that happens when we're not in front of students. Things like your planning and your lesson prep, designing and preparing lessons to meet all those individual student needs of anywhere between 20 and 32 students. We're filling in individual education plans for children, and of course we know that those are increasing every year. We're marking and giving feedback, setting up classrooms and provocations that will spark children's curiosity, hopefully. We're writing reports, the bane of every teacher's life. We're uploading data to various administrative platforms. We're completing professional development and, of course, helping out or running extracurricular activities. And when do we do all these things? Well, before and after school hours, and of course on weekends and holidays. And here's the thing, more and more teachers are leaving the profession because of burnout. And of course, for many, it's a decline in student behavior. Education needs a change, and we all know that. And teaching, I believe, needs a really good shake-up. And this shake-up it needs is a discussion for another day. So today, let's just focus on what we can do these holidays to ensure that we are physically and emotionally prepared for the term and or year ahead if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. If you are in the Northern Hemisphere, you indeed have 3 whole months to rest and recuperate and prepare for the new academic year. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, well, you only have 2 or 3 short weeks to rest up and get yourself ready to face another term. And for those of us south of the equator, we need to take at the very least the first week just to decompress. Now turn off those computers and stick them into a dark cupboard if you have to. Take this time to spend with friends and family. And if you can, take a trip somewhere, even if it's only for a day. Make a plan to get into nature, people. This is great for the whole family and gets you out of the house, which at this time of the year when it's cold and or wet outside is a recipe for cabin fever. Play board games. Watch Netflix, cook wholesome meals. It's winter, so stews and soups are all on the menu. And all in all, just take time to chill. But here's the thing, do things that are good for you. So don't spend all the time in front of a screen watching movies. And if you've got kids in the house, remember they're watching. Get outside where your mind and body can relax. That's probably the best thing you can do for your own self-care. Now, in the last few days before going back to school, you should probably start thinking, what all teachers do, about your plans for the term ahead. And one of the best things you can do is to collaborate with a colleague. Invite your colleague or your partner teacher over and have a brainstorm session of how you can teach your various subject areas in a holistic way. My favorite way is always a mind map. You might have some of your own ways. And find out and look, where are the links? How can you integrate English and social studies or English and science? And where can you link mathematics and art into other subject areas so that students can see the link. After all, everything we do in life is linked. Our lives aren't compartmentalized, so why should our subjects be? If you're learning about money in mathematics, for example, why not take kids shopping for some vegetables and they can then add up the amounts and learn to give change, which really is learning about the difference in maths, isn't it? Or bring vegetables into class with price tags on them if you can't go shopping. You see, there's always a way around things. We like to say, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. We spoke about that in episode 33 of this podcast, so go back and listen to that in my interview with April from April's Teaching Tree, where she gave lots of examples of exactly how we can overcome all the obstacles that are in our way. But don't just stop there at the shopping. Think of other areas in the curriculum you can link. What about using those same vegetables and creating a still life to paint? And once you've done that, get out those peelers and get kids to peel and then chop the vegetables so that you can make a soup, which the kids can then eat. Link this to science by looking at the seeds inside of vegetables, when then, of course, you're learning about the fact that when they have seeds, they're not actually vegetables, but fruit. Or what about classifying the vegetables into different groups and learning about the different types? For example, root veg like carrots, and tubers like potatoes, and fruit like pumpkins. And then you can even have a go at growing your own veg, things like sweet potatoes, or cut off the tops of carrots and have a go at growing them. And you can also use vegetables and integrate measurement. Measure them, weigh them, and even learn about circumference with round ones like squash and pumpkins. And don't forget to find good books that you can use in your literacy plans that link to all of this. So, for example, if we keep to the vegetable theme, why not integrate Stone Soup by Anne McGovern or Wombat Stew by Marsha Vaughan? And then there's a whole heap of books around soup, books like Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper. Or read soup recipes, and perhaps this is a great time to teach instructional or procedural text, and then students can write the instructions for making soup, introducing those sequence words like first, next, then, and after. And of course, before they can write instructional or procedural texts, they should really be able to give instructions orally first. So perhaps they need picture cards to prompt them. So think and plan to take photographs as you go about making the soup and turning those into picture prompt cards. I love teaching writing using Pi Corbett's Talk for Writing, and a great book for teaching procedural text, by the way, is Pi Corbett's Talk for Writing Across the Curriculum. I link it in the show notes for you. And by the way, I'm saying soup because it's freezing here in Australia right now. Well, I say freezing, it's nothing like Europe, but our homes are not really equipped for cold weather, so it's probably more cold inside my own home than it is outside right now. But you could do the exact same thing in America when you go back after the holidays. Instead, make a vegetable or fruit salad. And what I'm trying to illustrate here is that when you collaborate with a colleague, you can cook up more ideas, pardon the pun, and it makes the whole planning process so much easier and, of course, more fun because you can do it over a cup of tea or coffee or wine, even if that's your thing. And while you're brainstorming and making notes, one of you can then plan the English lessons for the term, and the other one can plan the science or the social studies lessons. And this way, you don't have to plan all the subject areas yourself. Lighten the load. Work smarter, not harder. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I've just come back from an epic European trip, and the one negative thing about the 3-month holiday is that it's too long. Kids forget what they've learned, and of course it's a problem for working parents having such a long holiday and not knowing what to do with the kids. I noticed many groups of children on summer camps having days out while I was there. And I have a great little activity sheet with 24 fun things to do with kids to get them off screens. And you can get it by going to bloomingcurious.com, 24 fun learning activities for kids. I'll link that in the show notes too, so you can get that. And it's a great thing if you're running a holiday program, or even if you have kids at home, you could just tick off the activities together as you do them. Now, once you've had a bit of a break, and you've taken the time to rest and recuperate, perhaps then is the time to think about how you could go about kickstarting your new term or year ahead by integrating inquiry and inquiry questions into your existing lessons or into your new lessons. Making changes to the usual way you do things is a great way to reignite your passion and get kids interested. Having a go at something new is also a great way to model to students that learning new things can be tricky at first, but also rewarding. So why not start the new term off by really focusing on integrating inquiry across different subject areas and just having some fun with students this term instead of always killing yourself with all that paperwork and marking? Isn't it time to get real with learning and put some spark back into those kids' eyes? I have a whole bunch of ready-made resources for you to help you on your way. So go to resources.bloomingcurious.com and check out what's available there for you. I'll link it in the show notes to make it easy for you just to click. I wish you all a very relaxing break. Remember to get out into nature. Personally, I love walking and listening to all my favorite inspirational podcasts. Only one earbud in, of course, because I like to still be aware of the sounds around me, because I'm old school. I'd like to thank you all for listening to Blooming Curious, especially since you have the choice of listening to any of 1,000 other podcasts, but you've chosen this one. So thank you. If you like this podcast, can you please do me a really big favor? Please share it with a friend or colleague. And please leave a review. You can do that by going to the show, not just the episode, and then scrolling all the way down and then clicking where it says leave a review. This will really help the show grow, not to mention make my day. And hey, if you want to get curious, why not sign up to receive my weekly newsletter where I share insider tips and inspiration around curiosity. Subscribe at resources.bloomingcurious.com/get curious. I'll leave the link in the show notes for you. And with that, I'll love and leave you until next week. Remember to chill. Remember to take some time for yourself. And when you're ready, go and click on the links I've left you. And until then, and until next week, remember to stay blooming curious.